I cannot believe I'm saying this in a video. Zach Palansky, the leader of the Green Party, has just posted to his 700,000 followers on Instagram a photo of a man wearing a t-shirt calling for the beheading of Nigel Farage. I'm going to say that again. The leader of the Green Party, Zach Palansky, has posted to his Instagram a photo of a man calling for the beheading of Nigel Farage. This comes just over 2 weeks after our dear friend Anne Widdecombe was brutally murdered in her
Originals. I'm Emily Carver. Please do give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and do leave a comment. Let me know what you think.
Her home in what the police say they believe to be a targeted attack. Reform UK has reported this matter to the police. We have also reported Zach Palansky to the monitoring officer of the London Assembly. I want you to consider what would happen if Nigel Farage did such a thing. It would obviously never happen, because that's not who Nigel is. But I want you to consider what the consequences would be if he did. Well, given Reform have reported Zach Palansky for incitement to the police, we're extremely interested to see how the authorities respond.
Do you want to take this opportunity to apologise to Nigel Farage?
Well, if I'd done it deliberately, I'd be apologising, but because this was a mistake, I think the important thing is that I point out it's a mistake, that I also make sure that I condemn political violence, and also, crucially, I make a commitment to be better on my social media.
OK. Do you want to apologise then or not?
No, the reason for that is because Nigel Farage, when I posted this, or when the person posted it, it got less than 1,000 likes. Nigel Farage then took it, cropped it, so it made it look like I posted it, which I think was fundamentally dishonest. It's now had 3.2 million views. So actually, this whole conversation has been seen more because Nigel Farage, the Yusuf, and I think Richard Tice posted it. So I'm accepting my responsibility in that I shouldn't have accepted that collaboration. I'm accepting that we all need to condemn political violence. But I also think the reporting to the police, the ramping up of the language to say this is incitement to murder me, feels like that's also putting me in a dangerous spot.
Police continue to look into reports about a social media post by the Green Party leader, Zach Palansky. Reform UK reported Mr Palansky to the police after he shared this on Instagram. Several images, which included a photo of a man wearing a t-shirt with a picture of a guillotine below the words, "We're only making plans for Nigel." Reform's Nigel Farage has said, "If I was to post anything as insightful, then I would expect to be arrested, and so should Palansky." Well, Mr Palansky is here. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Victoria.
Have the police been in touch yet?
No, they haven't.
Would you expect them to be? Do you expect them to be?
It feels quite surreal to be having this conversation because I think, first of all, it's important to establish the facts. This was not my post. It was a collaboration from a photographer. It had 20 images and I just didn't look carefully enough and I accepted it. As soon as I was aware of what happened, I unaccepted it and took it down. I think it would be odd for the police to speak to me about that because I think it's quite obvious that I've not done anything wrong other than making an inadvertent mistake. That being said, if the police do want to talk to me, of course, I'm very happy to cooperate.
OK. Did you not read the post properly then?
No.
Why not?
It was from a party and I accepted 9 collaborations from that party. Now, I accept as a leader of a political party, I have a responsibility for what I post. And to give you an example, if I go to a protest, I read every sign in a collaboration before I post it because I don't want to have situations like this. This was actually collaborations from a party on Sunday night. And you don't generally expect a party to have things that are contentious. So I did flick through it, but I admit I didn't pay enough attention to the t-shirt. As soon as I saw it, I was horrified. It's important to say I condemn all political violence. I condemn violent imagery. I condemn violent metaphors. I do my best to avoid them in my day-to-day speech. So I think the idea that I would click this knowing what I was doing, I think most people just know that isn't true. This was a mistake, and I'm sure... So
let's just look at this picture then. Any second now. You did not see the T-shirt with the drawing of the guillotine with the words.
It was the 5th image in 20, and so what I was seeing was people partying, flicking through. The man had a colourful hat on, like a rainbow hat. I remember seeing that and just carried on flicking through. I didn't even know this was a song lyric from XTC. Didn't read the t-shirt. That was a mistake. I accept that. But it's an inadvertent mistake. And so I think the amount that it's been reported, particularly by press that are owned by billionaires who often attack me, I talk a lot.
Come on.
Well, no.
Come on.
A guillotine, a T-shirt, and a political firestorm. Is Britain one step away from locking up its own MPs over a social media post? Somewhere in London this week, a single photograph turned into a full-blown political crisis. A Green Party leader, a Reform UK grandee, and a T-shirt referencing an old punk song have collided to raise a question far bigger than any of the people involved. In modern Britain, how far is too far when it comes to political speech, and who gets to decide? Welcome back to Britain Underneath, the channel that pulls apart the headlines until you can see exactly what's holding them together. If you're new here, subscribe now, because this is precisely the kind of story we exist to unpack. Let's get into it. It began, as so many modern political storms do, with an Instagram post. Zach Palansky, leader of the Green Party, shared a photo carousel from a party event. Tucked among roughly 20 images was one showing a man wearing a black T-shirt. Printed across the front were the words, "We're only making plans for Nigel," paired with an illustration of a guillotine. For anyone who grew up around British punk music, the phrase might ring a bell. It's lifted from a 1979 song by the band XTC, a track about a young man drifting away from his parents' expectations. Nothing more sinister than that. But strip away the musical history and place the image in the context of 2026 British politics, and the phrase reads very differently. Nigel is not exactly an ambiguous name in Westminster right now, and a guillotine is not exactly a neutral symbol. Reform UK didn't wait long to respond. Party leader Nigel Farage shared a screenshot of the post on social media, arguing that if he had ever shared anything comparably provocative, he would expect to be arrested, and said Palansky should face the same standard. But it was Reform's spokesperson for Home Affairs, Zia Youssef, who escalated the moment from political spat to potential criminal matter. Youssef described the image to reporters as depicting a call for Farage's beheading, calling it incitement to violence, and said the matter should be treated by police as exactly that. He confirmed Reform had formally reported the post to the Metropolitan Police, and that the party also intended to file a complaint with the oversight body connected to Polansky's role as an elected member of the Greater London Assembly.
Any leader of a political party in this country who shares a post like that is going to have reports and stories and conversations about them. You know that.
Well, can I come back on that? So in May, I experienced lots of threats, including today, by the way, I experienced a death threat. But in May, a Nazi who was near a Reform banner threw a salute at me and was arrested. No one ever spoke about it. No one ever reported it. And it does feel this is a legitimate conversation to be having. That's why I've come here tonight, to have the conversation.
But you are also complaining about it being reported.
I'm complaining about the disproportionality of, I think Zia Youssef said, if I wasn't arrested by this time tomorrow, then it's open season on all MPs. I think that's clearly hyperbole.
Well, let me put this to you. Nigel Farage says he has had 597 death threats since February. Reform UK's Zia Youssef said the post was incitement to murder.
So I think there's two things there, and two things can be true at the same time. It's totally unacceptable for Nigel Farage to receive a single death threat, so I condemn any incitement towards him or any violence towards him, no matter how much I disagree with his political views or anyone else. Everyone in the political sphere has the right to express their views. At the same time, the idea that's incitement to murder, when it wasn't my photograph, it's not my T-shirt. I accepted a collaboration post and unaccepted it the moment I read the T-shirt.
Yeah, but you've also told me that you accept, as a leader of a political party, responsibility for what you share on social media. And you have also said this was a mistake.
Yes.
And that you didn't read it properly. Do you want to take this opportunity to apologise to Nigel Farage?
Well, if I'd done it deliberately, I'd be apologising. But because this was a mistake, I think the important thing is that I point out it's a mistake, that I also make sure that I condemn political violence. And also, crucially, I make a commitment to be better on my social media.
OK. Do you want to apologise then or not?
No. The reason for that is because Nigel Farage, when I posted this, or when the person posted it, it got less than 1,000 likes. Nigel Farage then took it, cropped it, so it made it look like I posted it, which I think was fundamentally dishonest. It's now had 3.2 million views. So actually, this whole conversation has been seen more because Nigel Farage, Lee Youssef, and I think Richard Tice posted it. So I'm accepting my responsibility in that I shouldn't have accepted that collaboration. I'm accepting that we all need to condemn political violence. But I also think the reporting to the police, the ramping up of the language to say this is incitement to murder me, feels like that's also putting me in a dangerous spot.
Now, before we go further, take a breath. This is one of those stories that can send your blood pressure up fast, and understandably so. But the value of Britain Underneath isn't in getting angry alongside you, it's in helping you see the full shape of the story, so you can form your own sharp, informed opinion. So, if you're finding this useful, do us both a favour. Hit subscribe, because we're just getting to the part that really complicates the picture. Here's where the story gets messier than the headlines suggest. According to the Green Party, Palansky didn't personally select or design that image and says he wasn't even fully aware of what he was agreeing to. He'd accepted a request to be tagged as a collaborator in a post containing roughly 20 photographs from the event, and the T-shirt photo was reportedly buried among them. A party spokesperson said that once the image was brought to his attention, he removed the post almost immediately and does not support that kind of message in any form. Separately, reporting has indicated that the man who actually took and originally uploaded the photograph, a freelance photojournalist covering the event, has said Palansky wasn't responsible for the image's content and that he personally went to police to explain the full context himself. So you have two very different readings of the same set of facts. On one side, a senior politician who shared, even briefly and reportedly unknowingly, an image many see as glorifying violence against a named public figure, at a moment when nerves in British politics are already stretched to breaking point. On the other side, a case of an autoplay-style social post spiralling into an accusation of incitement to murder, aimed at someone who says he didn't even properly see what he was sharing before it was removed.
OK, there's a number of things to unpack there. First of all, you're saying you take responsibility for it and it was a mistake, and yet you won't apologise because you're blaming Nigel Farage for amplifying it.
I think we also need to talk about a double standard.
No, you keep taking the conversation on. If you're accepting it's a mistake...
What you just said was correct, but I was going to add to it.
OK.
Then Nigel Farage put out a video that talked about cold, pure rage, and then we saw a riot. Nigel Farage talked about knifing civil servants.
I am talking to you about what you have done. And if Nigel Farage was here, I'd be talking to him about what he had done.
Right.
It's a mistake, but you won't apologise.
I think if I'd done it deliberately and this had been a misjudgment, I would absolutely apologise.
But when we make mistakes, whether it's intentional or not, we say sorry. I mean, that's what we do.
You know as well as I do, the moment I do that, Nigel Farage would run all over social media saying he was correct about incitement to murder, and this would all ramp up again. And I think it's important that I draw a line and don't play his game, and actually say it is important that he's kept safe. It is important we condemn political violence, but I also recognise this is the political attack that it is.
Yes, but on behalf of you, your party said last night, once this image was brought to Zach's attention, he immediately unshared the post. He unequivocally does not support this type of dangerous message. You're accepting it was dangerous,
yes.
And yet you won't apologise.
I accept it's a dangerous message that I shared inadvertently, and I've corrected that immediately.
But you won't apologise for sharing that dangerous message?
Well, as I said, again, if Nigel Farage wants to apologise for all the times that he's put other people in danger, then I'll be happy to make an apology.
Right. So, OK. It's not the first time you have shared something that afterwards you have regretted. 3 months ago, you retweeted criticism of the police's handling of the Golders Green attack. You apologised after that for, quote, sharing the post in haste. I don't really understand why you haven't learned.
Well, that was a totally different situation where I did make a misjudgment, and that's why I apologised for it. It wasn't inadvertent. I read it and then reshared it. I think there's
there is a question about your judgment then, isn't there?
Well, I think there's a question.
One, you read it and retweeted it. One, you didn't read it and shared it anyway.
Other politicians don't use social media in the way that I do, and that's because, again, they often have the press to back their arguments. I believe in being in grassroots community. I believe in being in spaces. I actually collaborated with 8 people that evening.
Okay. Do you, just forgive me, do you still want to be Prime Minister? Do you still want to be in power?
I want to make sure that there's a Green government, whether I'm Prime Minister in the future or not. I want to keep making sure.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because these mistakes involving social media could be described as careless at best, dangerous at worst. You would forgive voters, surely then, for potentially thinking you might be careless or dangerous with their lives or their safety or their money if you were in power. Fair?
I have a job to do to make sure that I build trust.
Is that fair, what
yes.
I have just... Right.
Yes,
so voters would be forgiven for thinking that because of these kind of mistakes. And you're saying, yeah, that's fair. They've got a right to think that.
And it's my job to make sure that I build trust, that I demonstrate through my actions and through my behaviour, that I have people's values and their best interests at heart. I think lots of people watching this will recognise that people make mistakes.
And that tension, genuine offence versus genuine overreach, is exactly why this story matters far beyond these 2 politicians. Because we are living through a period where the stakes around political rhetoric in Britain have never felt higher. This didn't happen in a vacuum, and it's important we say that plainly. Just weeks before this row erupted, Anne Widdecombe, a former Conservative minister and a spokesperson associated with Reform UK, was the victim of a brutal, targeted attack. Prosecutors have told a court that a man is accused of striking her repeatedly with a hammer in what has been described as a planned and deliberate assault. That single horrifying event has understandably reshaped how every politician, every party, and frankly every one of us watching from home now processes anything that even gestures toward political violence. A joke, a piece of satire, a punk lyric on a t-shirt. None of it lands the same way it might have landed a year ago. Context changes everything, and right now the context in British politics is one of real, raw fear. That's precisely why this story deserves more than a 5-second scroll on your phone. It sits exactly at the crossroads of free expression, political accountability, and public safety. 3 things Britain has always struggled to balance, and 3 things this channel takes seriously every single week. If that's the kind of political analysis you actually want in your feed, rather than shouting matches and soundbites stripped of context, then Britain Underneath is built for you. Go ahead, subscribe and stick around, because we're not quite finished here. For its part, the Green Party has pushed back hard against the framing coming from Reform, insisting Palansky condemns the T-shirt outright and calling on everyone involved in public life, across every party, to lower the temperature rather than raise it, particularly given how many politicians, Palansky reportedly included, have faced their own threats in recent times. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Police have confirmed they received a third-party report about the image and say officers are conducting inquiries into the matter. Careful, deliberately neutral language that tells us very little about where, if anywhere, this actually goes next. No charges, no arrests, just an active review, sitting somewhere between a genuine criminal question and a political football being kicked furiously by every side involved. And that, ultimately, is the real story underneath the story. Not just what one T-shirt said, or who shared what and why, but what it reveals about where Britain finds itself right now. A country where political figures live with real, credible fears for their safety. A country where a single ambiguous image can spiral into demands for arrest within hours. And a country still trying, awkwardly and imperfectly, to work out where satire ends and incitement begins, and who exactly gets to draw that line. We'll be watching exactly what the police decide, and when they decide it, we'll be back to break it down properly, the way only Britain Underneath does. So stay sharp, stay informed, and don't go anywhere. Subscribe now, because you will absolutely want to see where this one goes next. We'll see you in the next video.